It was a summer day in June, 1215 to be precise, in the meadows of Runnymede beside the slow current of the River Thames. A king bent to the will of his barons. A parchment was signed, not in glory, but in desperation, not in triumph, but restraint. That parchment would echo through centuries, whispering of liberty, of justice, of power held in check. It was called the Magna Carta, the Great Charter. Welcome to Fata Morgana, where history isn't just a textbook, but a shadowed corridor we walk by candlelight. Today, we trace the journey of the Magna Carta, not just as a legal document, but as a seed of revolution, a myth of justice, and a warning to the rulers drunk on power. Let us begin with King John of England, son of Henry II, brother to the fabled Richard the Lionheart. John's reign, which began in 1199, was marked by turmoil, foreign wars, heavy taxation, political blunders, and clashes with the Pope and the English barons. John's defeat by the French at the Battle of Bouvines in 1214 shattered his military credibility. Worse, he tried to raise money through unlawful taxes, seized lands without trial, and punished his enemies arbitrarily. Barons, England's powerful landowners, had had enough. So, in June 1215, under pressure from a rebel army, King John was cornered at Runnymede, west of London. There, he affixed his seal to a document drafted by Archbishop Stephen Langton and the barons, Magna Carta Libertatum, the Great Charter of Liberties. It was not a proclamation of human rights as we imagine today. Instead, it was a peace treaty, a feudal contract, if you will, and most importantly, a limitation of royal authority. Of its original 63 clauses, many dealt with feudal grievances, inheritance rights, forest law, debt repayment, and scutage, a tax in lieu of military service. But some clauses would become eternal. For instance, clause number 39, no free man shall be seized or imprisoned, except by the lawful judgment of his equals or by the law of the land. Clause number 40, to no one will we sell, to no one deny or delay right or justice. The clauses were seeds, ideas that would one day sprout into due process, habeas corpus, trial by jury, and the rule of law. Here's the twist. Magna Carta was almost immediately annulled. Within weeks, Pope Innocent III, backing King John, declared it null and void, calling it not only shameful and demeaning, but illegal and unjust. A civil war erupted, the First Barons' War. King John died in 1216, and the Magna Carta was reissued by his 9-year-old successor, Henry III, as a gesture of goodwill. It was revised several times and entered official statute under Edward I in 1297. Over time, most clauses faded into irrelevance, but a handful remained, and they grew in symbolic power. Fast forward to the 17th century, and England was on the edge of another constitutional crisis. The Stuart kings, James I and Charles I, believed in the divine right of kings, ruling without parliament and imprisoning opponents arbitrarily. Legal scholars such as Sir Edward Coke revived the Magna Carta as a legal weapon, claiming it enshrined the ancient liberties of Englishmen. It became a central argument in the struggle between monarchy and parliament, culminating in the English Civil War and the execution of Charles I in 1649. The Magna Carta was being reborn, not as a medieval peace treaty, but as a constitutional cornerstone. In the 18th century, British colonists in North America clung to Magna Carta as a symbol of their rights as English subjects. When King George III imposed taxes and laws without colonial representation, Americans invoked Magna Carta in their protests. The phrase "no taxation without representation" echoes the Charter's logic. The US Constitution and Bill of Rights carry Magna Carta's fingerprints, particularly in the Fifth Amendment's guarantee of due process. Even today, the US Supreme Court has cited Magna Carta over 160 times. Not everyone agrees on the Magna Carta's significance. Some scholars argue it was never intended as a document of universal liberty. It protected the nobility, not peasants. It was deeply feudal and highly specific to its time. Historian Eric Hobsbawm called the Magna Carta a meaningless piece of medieval legalism, made powerful only by centuries of retrospective myth-making. Yet this, perhaps, is where its magic lies. Like the Bible or the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta evolved from a historical document into a symbolic force, a vessel of hopes, reforms, and revolutions. In Runnymede, where the Charter was sealed, stands a monument raised not by England, but by the American Bar Association in 1957. The Magna Carta is revered across democracies, from India to Canada, Australia to South Africa. Its image appears on stained glass, statues, coins, and in courtrooms across the world. In 2015, the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta was celebrated globally, with exhibitions, academic debates, and political speeches. Even in the digital age, privacy activists and legal reformers refer to Magna Carta when challenging mass surveillance and algorithmic injustice. So what can we learn? First off, power must be accountable. No matter how divine a ruler may seem, no authority should be above the law. Documents matter. Words, even if ignored or suppressed, can echo across centuries and inspire change. Finally, liberty evolves. Magna Carta didn't invent modern freedom, but it gave language to its pursuit. As we enter the age of AI governance, mass surveillance, and data capitalism, new questions arise. Who controls our personal information? How do we ensure digital due process? Who checks the unchecked power of corporations and algorithms? In 2014, web pioneer Tim Berners-Lee proposed a Magna Carta for the Internet, a charter to protect users' rights in the digital age. The spirit of Runnymede lives on, not in scrolls, but in code. The challenge is to craft the next generation great charter, not from ink and parchment, but from ethics, data rights, and technological accountability. The Magna Carta was not born noble. It was forged in desperation, signed by a reluctant king, forgotten, then revived, misunderstood, then mythologized, and yet it changed the world. It teaches us that the pursuit of justice is messy, non-linear, and filled with contradiction. But it also teaches us that power can be restrained, and that even the smallest seed of fairness, if planted well, can become a forest. This is Fata Morgana, where myths breathe, and history teaches not only what was, but what still could be. If this journey moved you, subscribe and walk with us further into the echoes of the old revolts and the dreams of future freedoms. Thank you, and take care.